I only make these videos public and hope that someone might, somewhere, pick up a book and read, judge for themselves what they read, have a conclusive thought, and maybe act upon it in their lives. I don't know. It's not very likely. I'm not going to change the world. I have no aspirations of doing so, and quite frankly, just don't care to do it. But I will read Elder Camus' The Stranger, chapters 2 and 3, because 3 is really short, so we're just going to go 2 and 3. Not that you're going to watch, because I don't care for anyone watching me anyway. So this whole stream is a conundrum, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in nougat. As I was waking up, it came to me why my boss had seemed annoyed when I asked him for 2 days off. Today is Saturday. I'd sort of forgotten, but as I was getting up, it came to me, and naturally my boss thought that the fact that I'd been getting 4 days vacation that way, including Sunday, that he couldn't have been happy about that. But in the first place, it isn't my fault that they buried my mom yesterday instead of today, and second, I would have had Saturday and Sunday off anyway. Obviously, that still doesn't keep me from understanding my boss's point of view. I had a hard time getting up because I was worried from the day before. While I was shaving, I wondered what I was going to do, and I decided to go for a swim. I caught the streetcar to go to the public beach down at the harbor. Once there, I dove into the channel. There were lots of young people on the water. I ran into an already cut down former typist at an office who'd I a thing for at the time. Ooh, he had a thing for a woman. I wonder what that thing was. A penis. And she did too, I think. But she left soon afterwards, and we didn't have the time. Oh, come on, there's always time. You can make it. You can make time. Come on. Being bashful like it takes forever. You can get it done, buddy. I got faith in you. No, I don't. That's a lie. I helped her onto a float. As I did, I brushed against her breasts. I was still in the water when she was already lying flat on her stomach on the float. She turned toward me. Her hair was in her eyes, and she was laughing. I hoisted myself up next to her. It was nice. Sort of joking around, I let my head fall back rest on her stomach. She didn't say anything, so I left it there. I had the whole sky in my eyes, and it was blue and gold. On the back of my neck, I could feel Marie's heart beating softly. We lay on the float for a long time, half asleep. When the sun got too hot, she dove off, and I followed. I caught up with her and put my arm around her waist, and we swam together. She laughed the whole time. On the dock while we were drying ourselves off, she said, "I'm darker than you." I asked her if she wanted to go to the movies that evening. She laughed again and told me there was a Fernandel movie she wanted to see. Once we were dressed, she seemed to be surprised I wasn't wearing a black tie, and she asked me if I was in mourning. I told her my mom had died yesterday. She wanted to know how long ago, so I said, "Yesterday." Bitch, not get. Yesterday. Seriously, you gotta reiterate. God damn. Bitches. She might be cute. You might have rubbed up against the titties, but she's dense. She gave a little start, but didn't say anything. Of course, she probably had nothing to say. I felt like telling her it wasn't my fault, but I stopped myself because I remembered that I had already said that to my boss. It didn't mean anything. Besides, you always feel a little guilty. By that evening, Marie had forgotten all about it. The movie was funny in parts, but otherwise it was just too stupid. She had her leg pressed against mine. I was fondling her breasts. Toward the end of the show, I gave her a kiss, but not a good one. She came back to my place. Yeah, oh yeah. When I woke up, Marie had gone. See, that's how in literature we don't have to describe. See, the in betwixt parts would be P0 ornographic. You don't have to describe everything. You can insinuate. But now we just want everything on display, so who cares? Just I don't want porn. I want a full gynecological exam. Why? No nuance. Every generation seems to like since the 60s. I blame the interwebs and the news media print stupid movable typewriter, making newspapers, and telling people what was happening. Only we had an uneducated populace again. Oh, wait, we're already there. When I woke up, Maria had gone. She explained to me that she had gone to her aunt's. I remembered that it was Sunday, and that bothered me. I don't like Sundays. So I rolled over, tried to find the salty smell Marie's hair had left on the pillow, and slept until 10. Then I smoked a few cigarettes, still in bed till noon. I didn't feel like having lunch just to last. I usually don't because they'd be sure to ask you questions. I don't like that. I fixed myself some eggs and ate them out of the pan without bread because I don't have any left and I didn't feel like going downstairs to buy some. Truly a man after my own heart here. Like, I don't feel like freaking doing it, so I'm not going to. I stand upon principle. Shoot. After lunch, I was getting a little bored and I wandered around the apartment. It was just the right size when my mom was here. Now it's too big for me and I've had to move the dining room table into my bedroom. I live in just one room now with some saggy straw chairs, a wardrobe whose mirror had gone yellow, a dressing table, and a brass bed. I've left the rest to go. A little later, just for something to do, I picked up an old newspaper and read it, cut out an advertisement for the Christian Salt, and stuck it in an old notebook where I put things from the papers that interest me. I also washed my hands, and then I went out into the balcony. My room looks over the mountains, the main street, and the neighborhood. It was a beautiful afternoon, yet the pavement was wet and slippery, and what people were there were in a hurry. First, it was families out for a walk, two little boys in sailor suits with trousers below the knees, looking a little cramped in their stiff clothes, and a little girl with a big pink bow and black patent leather shoes. Behind them, an enormous father in a brown silk dress and or mother. I'm sorry, mother's wearing the dress. It's still the 50s. Sorry, mother in a silk brown dress, and the father a rough, rather frail little man I know by sight. He had on a straw hat and a bow tie, and was carrying a walking stick. Seeing him with his wife, I understood why people in the neighborhood said he was distinguished. A little later, the local boys went by, hair greased back, remember 50s, hair greased back, red ties, tight fitting jackets with embroidered pocket handkerchiefs and square toed shows. Oh God, those square toe, toed shows, square toed shoes, man, what rebels! I swear to God, man, the 50s were brutal. The greasing hair and the square. I thought they must be heading into the movies in town. That was why they were leaving so early, hurrying toward the streetcar, laughing loudly. And now, after them, the street slowly emptied out. The matinees had all started, I guess. The only ones left were the shopkeepers, cats. The sky was clear but dull above the fig trees lining the street. In the sidewalk across from the tobacconist brought out a chair, sat it out in front of his door, and straddled it, resting his arms on the back. The streetcars, packed a few minutes before, were almost empty, and the little Café Chez Pierre, next door to the tobacconist, the waiter was sweeping up the sawdust in the deserted restaurant inside. It was Sunday, all right. I turned my chair around and set it down like the tobacconist because I found that it was more comfortable that way. I smoked a couple of cigarettes and went inside to get a piece of chocolate, went back to the window to eat it. Soon after that, the sky grew dark, and I thought we were in a summer storm. Gradually, well, it cleared up again, and passing clouds had left a hint of rain hanging in the street, which made it look a lot darker. I sat there for a long time and watched the sky. I'm not dealing with this drama right now. There's drama going on Discord. This is what I'm doing. I'm reading a book because, no. At 5 o'clock, some streetcars pulled up, clanging away. They were bringing back gangs of fans from the local soccer stadium. Why he called it soccer will prove that this is an American book by a Frenchman. They were crowded onto the running boards and hanging from the handrails. The streetcars that followed brought back the players, whom I recognized by their little athletic bags. They were shouting and singing at the top of their lungs that the team would never die. Several of them waved at me. One of them even yelled up to me, "Hey, we beat them." I nodded, as if to say yes. From then on there, it was a pretty steady stream of cars. The sky changed again. Above the rooftops, the sky had taken on a reddish glow. With the evening coming on, the streets came back to life. People were straggling back from their cars. I recognized and distinguished little men among the others. Children who were either crying or lagging behind. Almost all at once, the moviegoers spilled out of the neighborhood theaters into the street. The young men amongst them were gesturing more excitedly than usual, and I thought they must have seen an adventure film. The one who had gone into the town had come back a little later. They looked more serious. They were still laughing, but only now and then, and they seemed tired and dreamy. They all hung around anyway, walking up and down the sidewalk across the street. The local girls, bareheaded. Remember, this is it set in the Algiers. Go ahead, Google it. Look it up. MapQuest. Does that still exist? How old am I? The local girls, bareheaded, were walking arm in arm. The young men had made sure that they would have to bump right into them, and they would make cracks. The girls giggled, turned their heads away. Several of the girls whom I knew waved at me. Then the street lamps came on all of a sudden. I made the first stars appearing in the night sky grow dim. I felt my eyes getting tired from the watching the street lamps filled with so many people, so many lights. The street lamps were making the pavement glisten, and the light from the streetcars would glint off of someone's shiny hair, or off a smile, or silver bracelet. Soon afterward, the streetcars running less often, the sky already blue above the trees and lamps, the neighborhood emptied out, almost imperceptibly, until the first cat slowly made its way across the now deserted street. Then I thought maybe I ought to have some dinner. My neck was a little stiff from resting my chin on the back of the chair for so long. I went downstairs to buy some bread and spaghetti, did my cooking, and ate standing up. I wanted to go smoke a cigarette at the window, but the air was getting colder and I felt a little chilled. I shut my windows when I was coming back. I glanced at the mirror and saw a corner of my table with my alcohol lamp next to some pieces of bread. It occurred to me that anyway, one more Sunday was over, that Maman was buried now, that I was going back to work, and that really nothing had changed. I worked hard at the office today. The boss was nice. He asked me if I wasn't too tired, and he also wanted to know Maman's age. I said about 60, so as to not make a mistake. I don't know why, but he seemed to be relieved somehow to consider the matter closed. There was a stack of freight invoices that had piled up on my desk, and I had to go through them all. Before leaving the office to go to lunch, I washed my hands. I really like doing this at lunchtime. I don't enjoy it so much in the evening because the roller towel you use is soaked through. One towel has to last all day. I mentioned it once to my boss. He told me he was sorry, but it was a really minor detail. I left a little late. Wash your damn hands! God, we need freaking clean towel. Sorry. 1950s. Germ theory was a thing. Common courtesy and OSHA weren't. The offices overlooks the sea, and we took a minute to watch the freighters in the harbor, which was ablaze in the sunlight. Then a truck came toward us with its chains wrapped. Jesus, seriously, wash your hand. Like that one roller towel. I'm old enough to remember those things. And seriously, in a public restroom, that's what your pant legs is for. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. That's a rolling crime scene. That's what that is. Especially, oh my God, have you ever been to a truck stop here in Florida? They got them rollers, and you're like, no. It wasn't Eileen Warnos just here like a decade ago? No, I'm not doing that. It's horrifying. Ansel saved me from this horrifying concept of people having to have one fucking towel. Oh my God. A perpetual. I'm so glad that's not the world we live in today. Now we just have coronavirus. It's okay. Completely different. Then a truck came toward us with its chains rattling, its engine backfiring. Manuel said, "How about it?" And I started running. The truck passed us, and we ran after it. It was engulfed by the noise and the dust. I couldn't see anything All I was conscious of was the sensation of hurtling toward a mad dash through cranes and winches, masts bobbling on the horizon, and the hulls of ships along us as we ran. I was first to grab out and take the flying leap. Then I reached out and helped Emmanuel scramble up. We were out of breath. The truck was bumping around in the uneven cobblestones on the quay of the cloud and the dust of the sun. Emmanuel was laughing so hard he could barely breathe. We arrived at Celeste, dripping wet. Celeste was there, as always, with his big belly, his apron, and his white moustache. He asked me if things were all right now. I told him yes. I said I was hungry. I ate fast, had some coffee, and then when I went home, I slept for a while because I had drunk too much wine. And when I woke up, I felt like having a smoke. It was late, and I ran to catch a streetcar. I worked all afternoon. It got very hot in the office, and then that evening, when I left, I was glad to walk back slowly along the docks. The sky was green. I felt good, but I went straight home because I wanted to boil myself some potatoes. On my way upstairs in the dark, I ran into old Salamano, my neighbor across the landing. He was with his dog. The two of them had been inseparable for 8 years. The spaniel has a skin disease, mange, I think, which makes almost all of his hair fall out and leaves him covered with brown sores and scabs. After living together for so long, the two of them, alone in one tiny room, ended up looking like one another. Old Salamano had reddish scabs on his face and wispy yellow hair. As for the dog, he's sort of taken on the master's stooped look, muzzle down, neck straining. They look as if they had belonged to the same species, and yet they hate each other. Twice a day, at 11 and 6, the old man takes the dog out for a walk. They haven't changed their routine in 8 years. You can see them out on the Rue de Lyon, the dog pulling the old man until Salamano stumbles. Then he beats the dog and swears at it. The dog cowers and trails behind. Then it's the old man who pulls the dog. Once the dog is forgotten, it starts dragging the master again. You can see where this is going, right? The perpetuity of uselessness in routine just to get through a day through your routines and waste your fucking time doing so. Do you understand the fight against nothing? You don't fight it, you embrace it. All we have at the end of the day is sleep. It's nothing, or it's nothing. When the dog wants to urinate, the old man won't give him enough time and yanks at him, so the spaniel leaves behind a trail of little drops. If the dog has an accident in the room, it gets beaten again. This has been going on for 8 years. Celeste is always saying it's pitiful, but really, who has to say? When I ran to him on the stairs, Solomano was swearing away at the dog. He says, "Filthy, stinking bastard." The dog was whimpering. I said, "Good evening." But the old man just went on cursing, so I asked him what the dog had done. He didn't answer. All he said was, "Filthy, stinking bastard." I could barely see him leaning over the dog, trying to fix something on its collar. I spoke louder. Then, without turning around, he answered with a kind of suppressed rage. "He's always there." Curse of familiarity. Then he left, yanking at the animal, which was letting itself be dragged along, whimpering. Yeah, I'm sure they had a co-abusive relationship this entire time, from the sound of it. 8 fucking years is a long time. Just then, my other neighbor came in. The word around the neighborhood is he lives off of women. But when you ask him what he does, he says, "I'm a warehouse guard." Generally speaking, he's not very popular, but he often talks to me and sometimes stops by my place for a minute because I listen to him. I find what he has to say interesting. Besides, I don't have any reason not to talk to him. His name is Raymond Sintes. He's a little on the short side, broad shoulders and a nose like a boxer's. He always dresses very sharp. Once he said to me, talking about Solomon, "Isn't that just pitiful?" He asked me, didn't I think it was disgusting? And I said no. When we went upstairs, I was about to leave when he said, "I've got some blood sausage and some wine at my place. How about joining me?" I figured it would save me the trouble of having to cook for myself. It's the only reason to join anyone for dinner. I figured it would save me the trouble of having to cook for myself, so I accepted. It was only one room. He only has one room, too. and a little kitchen, no window. Over his bed, he has a pink and white plaster angel, some pictures of famous athletes, and two or three photographs of naked women. Well, I don't have any naked women or boxers. I mean, there's lots of photographs. Definitely not this guy. The room was dirty and the bed was unmade. First, he lit his paraffin lamp. That's a wax lamp. Paraffin is a type of wax. Jesus Christ. First, he lit his paraffin lamp. Then he took a pretty dubious-looking bandage out of his pocket and wrapped it around his right hand. I asked him what he had done to it. He said he'd been in a fight with some guy who was trying to start trouble. Hi, Divyansh Sharma. Nice to meet you. How you doing? What'd it do? You see, Monsieur Marshall, he said, it's not that I'm a bad guy, but I have a short fuse. This guy says to me, if you're man enough, you'll get down off that streetcar. I said, come on, take it easy. And he says, you're yellow. So I get off and I tell him, I think you better stop right there. I'm going to have to teach you a lesson. And he said, you don't know else. So I let him have it. He went down. I was about to help him up, but he started kicking me from there on the ground. So I need him one and slugged him a couple of times. His face was all bloody, and I asked him if he had had enough. He said, yes. All this time, St. Evans was fiddling with his bandage. I was sitting on the bed. He said, see, I wasn't the one who started it. Then he told me that as a matter of fact, he wanted to ask my advice about the whole business because I was a man. I knew things, and I could help him out, and that we'd be pals. I didn't say anything. And he asked me again if I wanted to be pals. I said, it's fine with me. He seemed pleased. He got out the blood sausage, fried it up, set out glasses, plates, knives, forks, and the 2 bottles of wine. All this in silence. I wonder why. A man doesn't have anything to add to the fucking conversation. It's not new. Oh, I'm reading Le Conge, A Stranger by Albert Camus. Don't well, I don't know your language. I can guarantee you that one. I can barely speak beyond English. So, no, it's a very classic, I mean, Pulitzer Prize winning book. It won the Pulitzer in 1957. So, this is a very important book if you consider the origins of the philosophy behind absurdism and nihilism, not just existential crises and oh my god, am I really important? And this little blue dot. No, little pale blue dot aside, we have to look at the absurdism of the routine that we absolutely accept as true. And it's not. It's not real. None of it matters. It's all pointless. That's where the nihilism comes in. Anyway, back to the novel. To get back to what I was saying, that's actually the next line. Sure. No, this is like English Lit 102. If you were taking English Lit in a college course in the States, probably 101 in Europe. And yes, I know I have an injury on my nose. I am not unaware of it. My nose is fucking huge, and I've seen it. I know I have a bleeding disorder. It's just a little scratch. It seems a lot worse than it is. I'll be fine. Had to cover that last time because it even looked worse. No, seriously, no. This is. I mean, you could read this like in no time. That's why I'm reading it on my channel. I'm tired of doing Pokemon card content, Yankees card content, whatever the hell else I'm doing card content. You know what? Have a good one. I don't care about my growth. Please do not subscribe to me. Do not hit the like. I'm not making this is not a joke. Don't subscribe to me. Don't do that. If you want to bookmark my page, that's fine. Do not subscribe to me. I never want advertisements on my fucking channel. And I will swear I will copyright strike. I will do anything it takes to never have a goddamn commercial on my fucking channel. It's not happening. That ain't me. Fuck that. To get back to what I was saying, once again, he continued, I realized that she was cheating on me. He'd been giving her just enough to live on. He'd paid the rent on her room, gave her 20 francs a day for food, 300 francs for the room, 600 for food, a pair of stockings every now and then. That made it 1,000 francs. and Her Highness refused to work. But she was always telling me that things were too tight, but she couldn't get by what I was giving her. Nope, no, I'm not on any, no Insta. I have to go let a dog out, so you're about to see no one here. But no, I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on. I'm here. That's it. Don't subscribe to me for the love of God. If I get commercials, I'll just quit the channel. I'll just make a new one. Yeah. Okay. My kid got the dog. Hey, there's one reason to have kids. But no, do not subscribe to me. Leave my channel alone unless if you want to watch it, free to watch, or else I wouldn't be doing this. But it's a book. These boring ass paper things with how many pages does it have? And it's a word with more than 2 syllables. I'm gonna have to Google it. Fuck you. And Her Highness refused to work, but she wasn't always telling me that things were too tight and that she couldn't get by on what I was giving her. And I'd say to her, why not work half days? It'd be helping me out a little bit on the extras. I bought you a new outfit just this month. I gave you 20 francs a day. I paid your rent. And what do? You have coffee in the afternoons with your friends. You even provide the coffee and sugar. And me, I provide the money. I've been good to you. And this is how you repay me. But she wouldn't work, and she would just keep on telling me she couldn't make ends meet. And that's what made me realize she was cheating on me. Probably not, brother. Just weren't paying her enough. Then he told me that he'd found a lottery ticket in her purse, and she hadn't been able to explain how she paid for it. And she hadn't been able to explain a lottery ticket. Couldn't explain a dollar. Wait, lottery tickets are minimum $2 now, right? I don't know. I only gamble on Pokemon cards because I'm an idiot in one direction. Just try to keep the one. A short time later, he had found a ticket from the shop de Montepietre in her room, which had proved that she had pawned 2 bracelets. Oh, shit. Until then, she hadn't even known the bracelets existed. It was clear that she was cheating on me, so I left her. But first, I smacked her around, and I told her exactly what I thought of her. I told her that all she was interested in getting was into the sack. You see, Monsieur Marceau, it's like I told her. You don't realize that everybody's jealous of how good you have it with me. Someday you'll know just how good it is. He had beaten her until she bled. He'd never beaten her before. I'd smack her around a little, but nice-like, you might say. She'd scream a little. I'd close the shutters, and it always ended the same way. But this time it's for real. And if you ask me, she still hasn't got what she's got coming. Jesus Christ, just because he pays her fucking rent. Then he explained that that what he needed was advice about. He stopped to adjust the lamp's wick, which was smoking. I just listened. I drank close to a liter of wine, and my temples were burning. I was smoking Raymond's cigarette because I had run out. The last streetcars were going by, taking the now distant sounds of neighborhood with them. Raymond went on. What bothered him was all that he still had sexual feelings for her, but he wanted to punish her. First, he thought he'd talk of taking her to a hotel and calling the vice squad to cause a scandal and have her listed as a common prostitute. Yeah, no, take it easy, guy or gal. I don't know. I'm not great with Hindu names. Hindi. I'm not sorry, not the religion, the language. I'm not so great with Hindi names. So, Divinash or Divyansh, Divyansh. I have no how to pronounce that. No clue, man. So not good. Sorry, but yeah, have a great night. Just don't sub. Love it, Christ. You don't realize that somebody's jealous of how good you have it with me. Someday you'll know just how good it was. He'd beaten her till she blah 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 blah. I'd close the shutters and then he explained that that was what he needed advice about. He had stopped to adjust the lamp switch, which was smoking. I listened. Okay. I drank close to a liter of wine, and my temples were burning. I was smoking Raymond's cigarettes because I had run out. Well, last streetcars were going by, taking the now distant sounds of the neighborhood with them. Raymond went on. What bothered him was that he still had sexual feelings for her, but he wanted to punish her. First, he'd thought of taking her to the hotel and calling the vice squad to cause a scandal and have her listed as okay, all right, blah blah blah. After that, he looked up some of his underworld friends, but they didn't come up with anything. As Raymond pointed out, he had a lot of good it does being in the underworld. He'd said the same thing to them, and they suggest marking her. That wasn't what he wanted. He was going to think about it, but first he wanted to ask me something. Before he did, now there's a line underlined in this book from probably 20 years ago. I haven't read it in over a decade. So before he did, though, he wanted to know what I thought of the whole thing. I said I didn't think anything, but that it was interesting. Now we get to the point where I'm reading this book to you guys out there in YouTube land. It's water, by the way. Void's not even drinking. I know, it's weird. I just talked about myself in third person, which is creepy, disturbing, and just unsettling in person. But I want people who are going to waste their time looking at my face and hearing my words to understand my motivations. I don't have any. I'm not interested by anything but that which interests me. And that interest can be held for about a few seconds. This is why I am not a relationship guy. Never got married, never had kids. Yes, I have a child. It's a whole other story for a whole other time. She's technically biologically not mine, but she's mine. But it's futility. It's called futility. And once you learn and experience the word futility, you stop fucking trying so hard. I'm not pissing up a rope my entire life. If it doesn't interest me, I'm walking by it. Some of us are hyper interested. We shouldn't be. It's not all that interesting. Ask questions, but, accept what the answers are the first fucking time. He lit a cigarette and let me in on what he was thinking about doing. He wanted me to write her a letter, one with a punch, and also some things in it to make her feel sorry for what she's done. And when she came running back, he'd go to her to bed with her, and right at the last minute, he'd spit on her face and throw her out. Yeah, that would punish her, I thought. But Raymond told me he didn't think he could write that kind of letter. It would take, and that he'd thought of asking me to write it for him. Guy hates his girl so much, thinks she's cheating on him. He's supplying all of the money. Think of the absurdity of all of this situation. The guy's like paying her way through life, spending 0% of his actual emotional or physical energies with her, other than just getting a lay. And he thinks he has rights or a claim. And what about her? She thinks she has a right to command more money from him and then fuck around on the side? All humans are deplorable. Don't know how this race has lasted so long. I guess we'll find out how long it takes until we're done. He downed a glass of wine and then stood up. He pushed aside the plates, a little bit of cold sausage we'd left. He cleared the and wiped the oilcloth covering the table. From the drawer in his night table, he took out a sheet of paper, a yellow envelope, a small red pen box, a square bottle with purple ink in it. When he told me the woman's name, I realized she was Moorish. That's, if you have to look it up, that's Moorish. In other words, we're talking about a Muslim of mixed descent in Spanish Iberian Peninsula area. You gotta remember, 1957. I didn't fucking write this. Don't get all cancel culture on me. I didn't write Moorish. All right, I didn't do it. I tried my best to please Raymond because I didn't have any reason not to please him. Then I read the book out loud. I read it out loud. Sorry, paper, not letter. He listened, smoking, nodding his head, and then he asked me to read it again. He was very pleased. He said, "I could tell you know about these things." I didn't notice at first, but he stopped calling me Monsieur, and it was only when he announced, "Now you're a pair, my son," that once again it struck me. He repeated his remark, and I said, "Yes." I didn't mind being his pal, and he seemed set on it. He sealed the letter, and we finished off the wine. Then we sat and smoked for a while without saying anything. Outside, everything was quiet. I heard the sound of a car passing. I said, "It's late." Raymond thought so too. He remarked how quickly the time had passed, and in a way it was true. I felt sleepy, but it was hard for me to get up. I must have looked tired because Raymond told me not to get things that he would get things for me, and at first I didn't understand, but he had explained that he had heard about my mom's death, but that it was one of those things that was bound to happen sooner or later. I thought so too. I got up. Raymond gave me a very firm handshake and then said that men always understand each other. I left his room, closing the door behind me, and paused for a minute in the dark on the landing. The house was quiet. A breath of the dark, dank air wafted up from the deep in the stairwell. All I could hear was the blood pounding in my ears. I stood there motionless, in old Salamano's room. The dog whimpered softly. And with that, we're done with chapter 3. Really not a difficult read unless you want to understand it. But yeah, really short read. You can read this on the shitter in about, well, depending on what country you're from and if you eat like a lot of fast food and shit, maybe 2 sittings. It's a very short book. You're going to have to reread it 5 or 6 times, mostly like most of the other books that I enjoy reading. If I got it the first time and it was that disposable that I could just be like, yeah, okay, I don't have to think about that again. That's a scorecard, not a book. I mean, like, oh, what was the Yankee score last night? 10-2. Gotcha. That's it. It's done. I don't have to explore it. The game's over. Game's never over when it comes to psychology. When it comes to understanding yourself, the Delphian motto. Once again, I will remind you. I don't follow any gods. I don't have any religion. I don't have any moral or ethical compass beyond that of the Oracle of Delphi. And even though they were huffing ethylene gas that was coming up through a fissure in the rocks, and that's why the Oracle, which Oracle is not a person, it's a place, by the way. The Oracle at Delphi is actually a room where basically acetylene just filled the air from a fissure in a rock for a good couple hundred years. And yeah, the priestesses got, visions from God, or the gods at that time. I mean, gods couldn't unify them all, couldn't have to unify all the gods into one so we can make war better, make it more efficient. Well, oh wait, you believe in all those other guys, but not this one, so we can make war. I'm rambling, but that's what happens when my brain starts working, and usually my brain starts working when I'm reading something I have to fucking think about. This is not a book to read passively. You actually have to engage with it. So thank you for the 2 people that'll watch this. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, you don't have to watch anymore. You're good. Don't sub to me. Leave me alone. Void, blah, 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 and bye.